Welcome back. In today's video, I'll be going over the top 5 pros and cons of living right here in Nashville, Tennessee. My first pro for living here in Nashville is our airport. We have an international airport, which is super convenient. It's about 15 minutes from downtown. It's towards the east side of Nashville, but it's super convenient because it is international. So whether you're traveling via plane, you get to that access, or if you're in a car, we're not too far south that you can't go somewhere up north. So I love the location and accessibility of Nashville. Unfortunately, here in Nashville, we do have a transportation issue. So traffic would be my number one con here in Nashville. Now, it doesn't necessarily apply to everyone depending on where you live and how far you commute, if you do have to commute to work. But traffic is a big issue here just because Nashville is such a hot center and people are relocating here like crazy. And so we are outgrowing pretty much our interstates as we speak. And so I know there are talks of fixing the problem, but that's not to say that we don't have an issue right now. It is becoming more and more of an issue every day, but that's not to say it's as bad as some places like Atlanta. It's not as bad as Atlanta, in my opinion. Growing up in Georgia, driving in Atlanta, I knew that was like the worst it could get possibly. And then I came to Nashville and people complained about it, and I was like, I mean, it's bad, but it could be worse. And I think if you're looking at Atlanta versus Nashville, I would say Atlanta's a little bit worse on the traffic scale of things. So that is my number one con, is traffic here in Nashville. So like I said, Nashville's traffic systems are being outgrown as we speak, but I will say that our economy is booming here. So the pro of that is our economic growth and just job opportunities here in Nashville. We are actually, as a city, growing at a 1.4% growth rate. And so we do see tons of opportunities, tons of huge corporations that are moving their hubs to Nashville. And so with that does come so many opportunities here in Nashville, which is incredible for our economy. It's no secret that Nashville is a tourism magnet. So if you've ever been to downtown Nashville, you know where the tourists hang out. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I will say it can be a con living here in Nashville. Tourism is a huge economic factor here. It actually generates around $7.5 billion, which is just incredible to think about. But I will say, I mean, it's a fun place to be. I don't blame people, but when you live here, there's a lot of tourism that goes on. So when you do decide to go downtown, it can be a little crazy. Another pro to consider here in Nashville is that we have great school systems. And while you might not have kids, you might think, oh, that doesn't apply to me. Well, it very well could be if you're trying to buy a house. Having a good school zone can really increase the value of your home. And so whether you have kids or you're planning to have kids, it does play a huge role in buying your home here in Nashville. Because Nashville has become such a hot spot, with that comes rising cost of living here. And unfortunately, that goes on to tourism because they know people are going to come here and spend the money, but it also falls on to people like me who live in town. So unfortunately, the cost of living here has escalated, which I know that's to say all of America has really and truly, but even without inflation in play, Nashville is definitely a target for rising cost of living. I did mention this in a previous video about renting versus buying, but even rental prices here in Nashville have really gone up in this past year, and that's due to property taxes just going up. And so unfortunately, people who own houses for renters, they are passing that along to their tenants. So my favorite pro of Nashville is that there are so many fun things to do. I mean, seriously, every single day of the year, you could do something different in Nashville and not get bored. It's no secret that obviously we have country music here. We've got the Grand Ole Opry, the Ryman. I mean, it's down every street here in Nashville, and I love it. No matter if you're a country music fan or not, you can find music here in Nashville, which is amazing. Another thing that I love is our outdoor activities. There's so much hiking, so many pretty waterfalls you can get outside here in Nashville. And we do have 4 seasons here, so it is pretty all year round. The summertime is pretty hot, but now I'm just rambling. The outside activities here in Nashville are incredible. My last favorite thing is the pro sports here in Nashville. So we've got the Nashville Sounds, you've got the Titans. I mean, we've got it all here in Nashville. And so if you are a big sports fan, you can definitely expect to go to some sporting events here in Nashville and have a good time. My last con is a very minimal one depending on who you are. So if you have allergies to ragweed or anything like that, it can be kind of bad here, and I only say that because I have a friend who's really allergic to ragweed, and her allergies are just terrible. Like if you're anywhere from like Texas that has different allergens, then when you move here, it can really affect you in the next 2 to 3 years of living here. And it really has affected one of my friends, and so I only say that because she struggled with it, and I know a few other people have. But if you don't have bad allergies, then don't worry about it. It hasn't affected me at all, but I know that some people really struggle with it, so that is a con here in Nashville. My last pro is Nashville is a central location for great food, great nightlife atmosphere. I mean, it is so much fun, and you cannot go down the corner without seeing a new little restaurant, new little food joint. I mean, they're everywhere. You could live here seriously for 5 years and not go to the same restaurant every single day. Like, it's insane. And then the nightlife here is crazy, but there's also little places, if you're not a tourist, that you can go to that are really cute and quaint and just hang out with your girlfriends or go out for a guys' night or just have a date night. You can do it all here in Nashville. I hope my top 5 pros and cons of living here in Nashville helped you get a little glimpse of just how great it is. Yes, we have cons, but I think, in my opinion, the pros far outweigh the cons. Here in Nashville, I have loved it. It's been one of the best decisions I've ever made moving to Nashville. And so if you are looking to make the move to Nashville, or if you know a friend that is, share this video with them and reach out to me, and I can help you find your home here in Nashville, Tennessee.